Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us. President Trump announced the trade deal with Mexico this week and suggested that the U.S. will go it alone with Mexico unless Canada comes on board. So will Canada join in the deal? Will Congress approve even a bilateral agreement? We're going to try and get some answers with one of our favorite trade commentators, Chuck Gastle. He's lawyer and principal at Bennett Gastle Professional Corporation. It is great to have you here.
Nice to be back.
We've had you on more, I think, in the past few months than we've had in the past few years. But we're 2 days from the time that the president came out and said that we just heard it's a U.S.-Mexico deal. We're 3 days away from a purported deadline of seeing if something can get done with Canada. What's your take on what's happened so far?
Well, it's bizarre. I mean, and it seems to be driven by the election of Obrador in Mexico at the start of July. Obrador is on the left. Mexico has a long history of socialism and populism, and it appears that Trump and Mexico are trying to rush a deal through before Obrador takes over on December 1st.
So that got us to where we are, and then I guess the second half of this question is, what do you think is going to happen with Canada?
Well, who knows? I would have said that it's impossible to do a deal. First of all, there is no deal. There's an understanding. If you go to the USTR, United States Trade Representative's website, you see 3 single pages. A trade agreement is very complex, takes a long time to negotiate. The devil is truly in the detail. And the United States has to deliver that agreement to Congress in 30 days. How are they going to do that?
And just to be clear, when you say they have to deliver this, what do they have to deliver? It's not more than 3 pages.
Well, no, it's a full agreement with everything, because under the Trade Promotion Authority, they have to announce a 90-day period. And then what happens is the United States Congress gets a vote either up or down. It's either yes or no. They can't propose amendments to it, and that was necessary to get any trade agreement done. So we're sort of on this timeline to get this agreement before Congress, when there hasn't been a trade agreement before Congress in quite a while.
So, let's break this up in 2 parts then. So there's the mechanics of getting this before and getting it in front of Congress. Do you think before the end of this week we could see Canada say, yep, we're on board with some version of this or close to it?
I would have said no, hell no. Up until today, when we're seeing reports out of Washington that there may be a deal done by Friday. And if there is, that tells us that Donald Trump really desperately wants an agreement far more than he's ever let on. And that could be for 2 reasons. And this is speculation. One is, again, the Mexican election. The second is the midterm elections, to try to get something done before the midterms.
One thing I thought was interesting is, when you saw the headlines when the U.S.-Mexico deal was announced, and everyone was kind of, I'd say mainstream horrified that Canada was not part of this. So I think it was pretty well telegraphed along the way that this was the direction it was going in. All the Canadian auto stocks rallied because of parts of the auto pack. They talked about, I think it's 45% of content had to be made in markets with over $16 an hour wages. Could this even be good for Canada? I mean, if a deal gets signed, there's kind of like, this doesn't feel good. I don't like the way it's being done. But if something is done, could this actually be better?
This could be a wonderful opportunity for Canada, because if Trump is desperate to do a deal, maybe we can trade off some things and get a deal done. And NAFTA is so important to the Canadian economy that if we can get a deal done this week, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
Why do you say, and again, I'm trying to delve into your experience here, because there's things that might be obvious to you that may not be obvious to all of us. You say Trump is desperate to get, or could be desperate to get a deal done. Why is he desperate? Why are we not desperate? I mean, it sounds because we're the one being given the quick turnaround deadline.
No, I've said here before that I think Canada really must sign on to an agreement. And because of the importance of the United States to our economy, plus what's taken place over the past number of months with the steel tariffs and the aluminum tariffs, and now there's a threat of 25% on our auto tariffs, which will has the potential to decimate our system. So I don't want to suggest that Canada doesn't need to do a deal, because it does. And the only reason I'm saying Trump appears to be desperate, because if there truly is a deal to be had by Friday, Trump has to be truly motivated to get there, and he's going to have to make some concessions. And this is a side to Trump on trade that I don't think we've seen up until now. Take
me through some scenarios, if you could. So one scenario is that there's a deal that is reached in principle, I'm going to assume, by Friday. And there's a scenario, almost perhaps miraculous, it gets through Congress. What if a deal's not reached by Friday?
In terms of with Canada?
Yeah.
There could be a bilateral deal between the United States and Mexico. And listen, from the moment Trump started talking trade strategy, that was always on the table. That was always something that people thought might happen. But people thought it would be Canada-U.S., not Mexico-U.S. So that's the first thing that could happen with Canada on the outside. Then Canada goes through a longer, more painful negotiation to get into that deal. But then the worst case scenario would be that Trump starts slapping on tariffs on autos, which are completely trade illegal, but he can get away with it because how slow the WTO is, and force Canada to its knees to beg for something.
Would you put probability on any one of those?
As of today, I wouldn't put probabilities on anything. This is such a fluid situation. And I've been studying trade for 30 years. And literally, I started in 1988. I've seen all kinds of trade negotiations. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, we're glad you're here to at least shed some light on it, because it is certainly an exciting time, if not a nerve-wracking time. Chuck, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Chuck Gastle, lawyer and principal with Bennett Gastle Professional Corporation.